And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to another high vibe conversation. I'm your host, Shel Shapiro, and with me today are Dorit Carlson, Jenny Langren, and Linda Vetrus Nichols. And we are here with you to talk about allowing yourself to feel. Before we dive into the conversation, I like to do a little bit of housekeeping, if you will. So, if you're new here, welcome. We want to remind you that this is a safe space. We invite you to share with us as we talk through our life lessons and hold space for you to work through yours. What this means is that if at any point while we are sharing our experiences, our insights, if you resonate with the conversation, if you have an experience of your own, or if you just feel really compelled to chat with us, please make sure to leave your comments in the chat. Whether you are joining us live or on the replay, we will make sure to get back to you in a timely manner. Before I continue on, let's bring up Steena Marie as well. Steena, we are excited to have you join us for this high vibe conversation, allowing yourself to feel. I'm just doing a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So besides inserting your comments and sharing with us, we would love to continue these high vibe conversations with you. If there is a topic that we have not yet covered and you would like us to talk about it more in depth, whether that's privately or right here on Thursdays, you can connect with all of us at your own discretion and pleasure. And we invite you to do so. You can usually reach out to us on LinkedIn. And if you'd like to schedule a one-to-one conversation to have a more private high vibe discussion, here's the link where you can do that to book your call. It will give you the option to select which one of us you'd like to have that high vibe conversation with. If you are loving these conversations, and we certainly hope you do, because you keep coming back, right, from week to week, we invite you to catch up on previous conversations by subscribing to our YouTube channel. The link is there for you to do that. And without further ado, let's get into it. Allowing yourself to feel. I'm going to kick this off real quick before I pass the conversation mic over. What's coming up for me immediately is thinking about like all the times in my previous experiences when I didn't allow myself to feel. Like I know that like when I hold those emotions in, like it just creates tension spots throughout my body. I don't know if you ladies can relate to that. But like some of those places that I tend to feel it when I like hold it in and hold back, I would get like a knot in my throat, like a big like tense thing. I might feel like I need to cough consistently. That doesn't go away. My skin might get really itchy. It's not just food sensitivities that do that. I get really anxious, nervous knots in my stomach sometimes if I'm like really apprehensive about something or like uncertain about it. I hold a lot of tension in my upper back and shoulders, especially like throughout the day. Like if I'm in a tense situation or like it's stressful and I'm like, I need to push through, but I don't want to. I feel that. Where else might you be feeling it? And what would that look like if you just allowed yourself to get those emotions out and express them? I'm begging the question here. Would you not just feel so much more relaxed and at ease if you could allow yourself to process through those feelings and emotions? So that's what's coming up for me. I know that I feel those things all the time and I'm a work in progress. Dora, I'm coming over to you first. What's coming up for you when we talk about allowing yourself to feel?
Thank you, Shel. I really feel what you're saying because that was so my life too. But at the time, I was too busy or all up in my head. I didn't even realize that I was suppressing feelings. But looking back, I see that I was focusing on everyone else having the best of everything and putting myself last. But at the time, that was just I thought it was my service mindset and my just giving personality, but turns out I was a people pleaser, and I just put everyone before myself, and I didn't allow myself to feel anything. And that resulted in my body having a complete crash. That would look like it could start with a really, really upset tummy, because I was pushing myself to do all the things that I really didn't want to do, but I thought was expected from me. So I would have complete tummy aches, in and out at the doctors, didn't find anything, a lot of stuff like that. And the neck thing, I've had cortisone shots set in my neck. I fainted. Because my neck was so tense, but it didn't ring a bell. So I didn't take the hint, so to speak, until I practically was chased by the doctor to go to the hospital, and I was there for over a week, and complete burnout, complete crash, two two diagnoses that I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life, because I didn't listen to my body. I didn't change anything with all the signs the poor little thing tried to throw at me. Yeah, allowing oneself to feel is a powerful, powerful thing. And I'm so glad that I'm now embracing that, and I'm able to remind people to do that, and teaching my kids to do that. And I'm trying to turn my lesson into something good for others, because that was not a good place to be before I learned to listen to my feelings and let them out. And certainly not during the 7 years that I was ill, because I didn't listen or let out my feelings. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dorit. I could so relate to that on many levels, not just the burnout, but also the people pleasing, the ignoring the signs and the things that my body was telling me. Um, I know how I feel having come through it. How do you feel now that you're on the other side of it? What's the difference in that feeling?
I feel 10 feet tall. It's just awesome to, and so powerful. When you realize that you matter, that when I could kind of, for the first time, say that my feelings, my well-being, mattered just as much as anyone else's. And if I took care of myself first, then I would be able to be there for my family, because I wasn't before. There wasn't any more to give, especially in the 7 years that I was sick, and just having to rely on everyone to help you wasn't a good place when you're used to being the one always doing the helping. So it's been empowering, and it's opened so many doors. And I don't feel that I'm selfish. I don't feel that I'm taking away anything from anyone by putting myself first. On the contrary, I feel that I can be there more, and have more to give to people, just in terms of stable mood, better health, things like that I certainly didn't think had anything to do with me doing all the stuff that I really didn't want to do. So yeah, all to the better.
Well, you've certainly learned that loving yourself is not selfish, as you mentioned.
Yep.
And loving yourself also means allowing yourself to feel. So I applaud you for doing that. I feel like, and I've wanted to do it for like the last minute or so, but I didn't want to interrupt all your good share. This is a confetti drop moment, because it's worth celebrating, right? That you're loving yourself and feeling good. So yeah, kudos to you. You are certainly the queen of your kingdom. Linda and Jenny, I'm coming down to you. What's coming up for both of you ladies as we talk about allowing yourself to feel?
Are you coming down or are you coming over to Sweden? Yeah. What are you talking about, girl?
I'm bouncing all around.
Yes. Oh, so I'll just start here. So what comes to me is to allow myself to feel is to listen inwardly, and the emotions that we have will teach us different things. So it really is sitting down with the greatest teachers of my life to listen to anger that tells me about boundaries and areas in my life where I want to reclaim my power, or listen to grief that tells me of what I value and teaches me of the process of letting go. You know, we are listening to the most important communication of all in our own lives. And when clients come to me, sometimes they were, and I was, taught that emotions are good or bad or scary or shameful, and to start using more helpful words to what they truly are and the function they have in our system and in our bodies is so helpful. And for some of them, it is as if these emotions have been maybe separately knocking on their door for so long, and they just didn't know. They didn't have the tools to open up and listen and get to know them and see what they were there to teach them. And what happens is that those emotions aren't going away. They still have those lessons to teach. And eventually they will knock in that door. And that can be experienced as major anxiety or even panic attacks.
Good one.
So to start recognizing that it's okay, so there's a lot here and we get to sit with it and pick it up together with a coach or just someone that we really trust, and get to know what all of these emotions are teaching us individually is very calming and helpful. So, and I've gone through that journey for sure. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
How about you, Linda?
For me, it's when I'm encountering a narcissist and there's that sort of sense that they're, like calling me out as lying, probably like the kind of the gaslighting stuff. And truth is like my number. I filter everything, like I did, what is it called? Why coaching. And that's how I move through the world, is through truth. And so when someone calls me, a liar or something, or starts backing up with all this evidence or whatever, my hands get super, super shaky. Yeah. And that's probably the one thing I worry about the most is, and I had an experience when I lived in Connecticut. This gal who was a new friend, she lived across the street, and I didn't see her husband all that much. He was from Portugal. Yeah. And he was from a whole different background. His father had been in jail, different things like that. And I babysat one night and something, went missing. By morning, he was looking for something. I didn't mean it went missing overnight, but and so he was sure I took it. It was like, I'd never experienced something like that before. And my hands just shook, and then it finally resolved it. So I think he found it or whatever, but it was just like, oh my God, what a feeling that was. And in human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So frustration, that's like, if I'm frustrated, I've gone over my line already. So I live to not be angry, and that can be frustrating. So I know I'm over the top when I'm angry. And I'm trying to think what that feels like. It's very visceral for me. So as you guys know, it's all about the abdomen, the second chakra with me. and that idea of emotions are good, emotions are bad. Emotions aren't good, emotions aren't bad, memories aren't good, memories aren't bad. They just are. And so notice, and then, do a little digging. Well, where might that emotion be coming from? So that was kind of my take.
And going from why am I feeling this to opening up and what is this teaching me? That's been huge for me.
Yeah. What I was thinking of, Jenny, just now is not just what is it teaching us, but what is it telling us that we need? Like, what is it that we're lacking or craving? I don't remember, I want to give credit where credit's due, so I'll try to find the link afterwards because I don't remember her name. But I saw a video earlier this week where this woman on Instagram was talking about slowing down. And that's something that we talk about all the time. But she had this acronym, HALT, to like tap back into ourselves. Like, what is it that you actually need right now? Like, what's really going on? Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And a lot of times that can help you get deeper to like the root cause of what's actually going on. For me, it's usually like I become a really big sasshole when I'm hungry, or not eating. I don't want to say the word without the sass, because there's always some level of sarcasm and like bite attached to it. But like, I'm not just like angry, I'm hangry. And usually if I can get to the root of like, what is it that I'm craving? What does my body need? And then I go nourish it, even temporarily, then I usually am that much calmer. If you think about it too, when babies are hungry, right? Their hands and feet are really tense. And then as they feel satisfied, they release that and they let go. And sometimes that's how I know that like my nieces and nephews, not so much the bigger ones now, but the younger ones, when they're done eating, their hands are like just fully open as opposed to being clenched. So it's a good gauge to check in with yourself and to remind yourself to slow down and listen. What do you actually need? What am I really feeling, instead of just barreling right through it?
I love that you bring it up, Shell, and healing from trauma and dealing with trauma response. That's been something, I'm still learning along the way, that instead of acting or responding, to just begin with self-care, to go to self-care first, to get that distance, perspective, and clarity on sorting things out. And it's been super helpful. And also that I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to make choices and decisions and act in that very moment, but just to tend to my needs and maybe separate myself a little bit. That's always, yeah. And I realize when I do it, like, that's really what I was longing for in that very moment.
It's all about slowing down, ladies.
And giving yourself what you need. So thank you, Linda and Jenny, for adding to this powerful high vibe conversation. Steena, I'm coming over to you now. Enlighten us with your wisdom. What's coming up for you when we're talking about allowing yourself to feel?
Well, I didn't write anything down, so just winging it today. I started thinking about people pleasing with emotions, and then you brought up babies, and I started to think about and put together, the transition. When you're a baby, you just cry and people respond to you. At least that's what's supposed to happen. So that you have a method of communication and affecting your environment. So when you feel something, other people know you feel something and can respond to your need. And for some of us, before we're even verbal, we're getting those cues shut down. So we're not getting the response we're looking for, or we're getting a caregiver's response that is, anxious, angry, upset, not able to respond. And sometimes that's deliberate and sometimes it's not. If you have a mom that has severe postpartum depression and a colicky baby, like, you have a nightmare combination. Nobody's regulated and nobody can fully respond. But then as we become verbal, we teach our kids, we point to a ball and we say ball, and we point to a cat and we say cat, and we tell them the sounds that animals make, and you teach them these words. But I have found myself saying more and more, the worst thing about communication is that we're all under the impression that we're speaking the same language. So we think that everything is as simple as pointing to a ball and saying ball, and pointing to a cat and saying cat, and the cat says meow. But there's a whole language underneath our language that if we don't teach our kids that as they grow, or we as children are not taught that as we grow, then what our vocabulary around emotions becomes is just observing behavior. So we don't get an accurate understanding of emotions. We don't get a subjective understanding of our own emotions. We just get this sort of like we have to like become our own detectives, and we have to figure out, and I think this is where good and bad comes from, right? Because good is I'm safe and bad is I'm not safe. And so good emotions are mom and dad are happy, right? There's like, this is good things that are happening. And now they're happy with me and I'm getting love and I'm getting care. And then bad is they're angry because now I'm getting neglected, abused, abandoned, whatever, the result of that is. So, of course, we think that they're good and bad because they represent safety and unsafety. But that's all, again, based on behavior, which is then where people pleasing comes from, because people pleasing is just watching other people's behaviors, intaking all of the stories that you can gather from their behavior, and then acting accordingly to keep yourself safe. And so it creates this cycle where we're really out of touch with how we feel. And so when I started to come back to how I feel and specifically naming certain feelings, I realized that I would kind of zoom past the initial feeling right into anxiety, right into what did I do wrong? What do I need to fix? How could I have done better? What do I need to change? And that's that safety thing. I just went from I feel a thing to I'm not safe. I need to create safety. I need to like restore the balance externally. And what we learn as we gain that emotional intelligence and identifying our emotions is there's a need underneath the emotions. It's just like the crying baby. They're not just crying to cry, right? We're not just feeling the feeling to feel the feeling. There's something underneath it driving the feeling. And when you get to being able to identify that, you can then feel your emotions from a regulated space. So I've had such a journey with this where now I can have a really sad day and I'm just sad. I'm not dysregulated. I just feel sad. And that's a huge difference from being dysregulated and not fully being able to identify the sadness and not allowing it into your body and being in resistance and being activated in your nervous system. Um, and I felt sad this week. I was like, well, I don't have a lot to be sad about. So there's not a lot of story coming up, but I'm sad because I miss my partner and I'm sad because I miss my dad. And I was like, well, I can't go see my dad, but I can go see my partner. I'm going to make myself a pot of soup. I want a nice hot bath and I'm going to go get some snuggles. Like that's what I wanted. And then I went and I got it. I went and I did that for myself. And I think the lie that comes from people pleasing is that it means more if someone else does it for us. So it means more if someone else notices that you're sad, because it goes back to the behavior thing. It means more if someone else tries to satisfy your needs or find out what your needs are or anticipate, your emotions. And it's so empowering to just be able to sit with yourself and feel it and identify it and then say, what do I need? And to feel empowered in initiating getting that need filled. And when I got to my partner's house, there were no Epsom salts for the bath, which I knew there weren't. And I had told myself to pack them at my house and I didn't. And so no Epsom salts means like, why even bother taking a bath? So I just sat down and sobbed because I was just like, I can't take this. Like, I just was like at the end of my rope. And he says, can I do anything for you? And that is such a, like, I mean, raise your hand, people pleasers, if you've been asked what you need and like deflected, denied, said, "Oh, I'm fine." And I said, "You could go get me some Epsom salts." And he said, "Okay, I'll go into town." And oh, thank you. And I was like, and I just said, "Okay, would you like me to come with you?" And he said, "Yeah, you want to go for a ride?" And I was like, "Sure." So we got in he's got a classic truck, so it's got the bench seat in the front, and I got to like snuggle up to him while we drove to the store and got some Epsom salts and some ice cream. And I was just like, "Thank you so much for doing that for me. It really made my day." And he said, "Oh, I feel so special." And I was like, "You made me feel special." Like, so it's just like such a simple but tangible experience that I had of, I feel this. I'm going to actually ask for what I need. And then I had someone like joyfully respond to that need and happily do it. And that's how you start to disprove all the stories about your feelings not mattering, or that your needs don't matter, or that people don't care about you. So if you catch yourself saying like, "So and so hasn't called me in a while," or "I haven't heard from this person," have you reached out to them? You know, there's little ways where we just wait in passivity for other people to recognize us. But when you recognize you and you acknowledge and can express those things, it's really powerful, especially when you are surrounding yourself with people that care and support you and want to help and love you too.
That is so powerful. Thank you, Steena. Of course, there was the confetti drop moment in one, before I even dropped it, of you saying that you were proactive to make sure your own needs were met. What do I need in this moment? And then took the time to pack up whatever you needed. Maybe not the Epsom salts, but like you packed yourself into the car and you went and you got the snuggle time from your partner. Like you asked for what you needed. Then instead of, just waiting for him to go get it, you got in the car with him so that you could continue that you time that you were craving, that interface, and got the snuggles even in the truck. So like, it was just like one thing after another of making sure that you were not denying yourself of what you needed in that moment. So good on you for doing that and recognizing it and being proactive in those compounding moments, because it's that unconditioning that of like our old patterning, right? Like old you may have just continued to sit on the couch and sob, like, or like turned off instead of like, "Nope, I don't," like you said, "Nope, I'm fine. I don't need anything. There's nothing you can do."
Like,
Like,
I guess I'll just take a bath without the Epsom salts, or I'll just go to bed. I'm tired anyway. And yeah.
yeah. Or like, and then it still would have been in the back of your mind of like, it's not exactly what I wanted. Like it did the job, but like it didn't feel like there's still something that's lingering that was unmet. So yeah, really good on you for listening to yourself in that moment and taking the time.
It reminds me of kind of that toxic positivity, and Steena talks about like living at least this didn't happen. At least this, it's like living a less than life. So, well, at least I made it out here. At least I can hug him. I can take a bath. I'm a big kid. I can take a bath without the salts. No big deal, and tough it out. And what you're doing is that same thing, which is toxic positivity. Like if somebody dies and you say, well, at least your mother is still alive, or your father's dead, but at least your mother is still alive. At least it wasn't, at least they died quickly. At least, right? That's so toxic, and we can do that to ourselves too. Good story, Steena. Love
And
that.
how many times do you see a little kid that wants the red cup and they're like, the yellow cup's fine? Or, again, those little things when we're young that we're told like, "Oh, you'll be fine without it," or "That doesn't matter."
Yeah.
And it matters. Like the color of the cup is like maybe the only thing that 2-year-old feels like they have any control over in their world.
All about control with
You
them.
know?
First word, no.
Right.
You bet. Love
Yeah.
it. You got anything?
Yeah, well, it's back to also Steena's teaching on your yes and your no, because your body is saying, or your whole essence is saying yes, and denying ourselves that, it will lead us to becoming bitter, and that's a half-life.
Yeah.
So,
Or a dopamine seeker.
yeah, that
Because
too.
she was satisfying her serotonin levels and what she was doing. And serotonin, as Jenny teaches, is enough.
Yeah.
So then,
Feels good,
then
it's
you're
enough.
like, dopamine, where's my dopamine hit?
Mhm.
You're desperate and
That too.
you're living in not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this quote that if we don't say yes authentically, we say it resentfully. Like you were saying, Shal, like going to bed, but not really saying yes to what we really needed.
Right.
So to live that life of yes, like that's what it's about, to fill our lives with what we truly want for.
And for my story, Steena, the great copywriter, pulled out, we resent, I just posted it this week, we resent the whatever of you not meeting your own needs. Remember that one, Bean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It goes back to what you were saying, Steena, about how like we passively wait sometimes for somebody else to notice that we need something or to reach out. And I think you even used the example of like, I'm missing this person, but they haven't reached out in a while. Well, have you checked? You said, have you checked in? Have you called them yourself? And I've definitely dealt with that a lot in my life. Not necessarily me, because if I miss somebody, like I'm going to call them. But like sometimes when I don't, if I don't reach out to my family enough and they're like, well, we haven't talked to you in a while. Are you like, why aren't you calling? And I'm like, why haven't you called me? Like, you have the need there. I will call when I feel like I need to call. And sometimes I feel like that I get pushed to call sooner than I'm ready. And the family is just an example. It could happen with friends. Sometimes I feel like if I am pushed to call or to reach out to somebody or do something before I'm ready, again, that's that people pleasing, right? That, or before like it's a good yes, like it feels good for me, it's in alignment, then that's where that resentment breeds. They're like, I didn't really want to do this, but I'm doing it because I know it will make you happy. And so going back to listening to what we need, and as Jenny teaches, like knowing where you end and the other person begins.
Right.
I love how we tie all of our teachings together, right?
Yeah. And it's very much that manifesting generator too. You know, if you're not ready, that's that manifestor in you. If you're not ready, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
not okay for you.
And if I'm not ready to do something, I'm probably going to drag my feet more on it, because I'm just like, once I'm ready to do something, that's when it's go, 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 go.
Yeah, it'll take me longer. I'll make lots of typos, but man, when I'm ready and I just allow it to come in, it's like, I didn't even have to correct anything. Post. It's so cool. How about you, Dorit? What you got?
I've got achy cheeks from all the smiling. That's what I got. That's my emotions coming out, my feelings.
How are your eyeballs doing monitoring that camera?
Well, I'm flickering.
I'm flickering.
I'm flickering from here to there.
Support is coming your way to Norway.
No, I'm just taking it all in and smiling, because I just recognize that it really resonates with me, and yeah. I just love, I just love you guys, and we always learn something when we are sharing like this. I just love these little Thursday lives.
Yes, such a blessing. Thank you guys.
Yeah, it's a blessing to have you all in my inner circle, and that we get to share these conversations live with the world to experience too. So Thank you to each of you ladies for showing up from week to week. Thank you to all of our viewers who are here ready for more high vibe conversations with us. We've covered so many things about allowing yourself to feel today, from people pleasing to denying yourself, to asserting yourself to be proactive, to go after what you want and listen to your emotions and your needs, and to go take care of yourself. Little self-care never hurt anybody, right? So we would love for you to continue these high vibe conversations with us. Again, if you are compelled to share and want to have your own high vibe conversations, please feel free to drop your thoughts into the chat, whether you're watching live or on the replay. If you want to have a more individualized conversation with one of us, here's the link where you can do that to continue those high vibe conversations. Please make sure to connect with each of us on LinkedIn, because we would love to have these conversations with you and support you over there as well. If you'd like to catch up on the replays or other previous conversations, here's where you can do that. Check us out on YouTube and make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, we will say bye for now.